You're asleep, completely out, not just resting, gone. Your muscles are slack, your reaction time is essentially zero, and whatever awareness you normally have of the world around you has just switched off entirely. Now picture where you're doing this. A clearing somewhere in East Africa, or the edge of a boreal forest, or a valley in the Pleistocene where the tree line drops and the dark goes on forever. Around you, at distances you couldn't even guess, there are animals that can smell the carbon dioxide coming off your breath. Animals that can hear your heartbeat. Animals built by millions of years of evolution into hunting machines that operate best at exactly the moment you're most helpless. And yet, you wake up. Every morning, throughout essentially all of human history, the species woke up. Why? Here's the thing that gets me about this question. Most people assume the answer is simple. Predators weren't around, or maybe early humans found safe enough places to sleep. Or maybe the fires kept things away. But the full picture is so much stranger and so much more layered than any single explanation, that once you see all of it together, you start to look at your own body differently. Because some of this isn't about what humans did. It's about what humans are. What we've been for so long that the natural world essentially built a warning system around us. And that system is still running right now, even when you don't know it. Start with the part that sounds like a compliment, but is actually just cold, hard biology. You are terrifying to predators, not in the way a bear is terrifying, through size and claws and raw physical threat. In a deeper way, a weirder way. In 2019, researchers at UC Santa Cruz played recordings of ordinary human voices near mountain lions in California. Just people talking, normal conversation. And the mountain lions fled at the same rate, sometimes faster, than they fled from barking dogs. These are animals that kill full-grown deer for breakfast. They heard a human voice and left their food on the ground and walked away. Think about the scope of what we've done to large predators over our history. Humans have been active hunters for something close to 2 million years. We hunted mammoths out of existence. We drove megafauna off entire continents. In North America, we pushed wolves to near extinction across a landmass larger than Europe. The animals alive today are the descendants of the ones that were most careful around us. That's not a figure of speech. That's natural selection doing exactly what it does. The predators that came close to human camps got killed. The ones that kept their distance reproduced. And their offspring kept their distance. And their offspring's offspring did the same. What you end up with, after thousands of generations of that, is instinct. Deep, wired-in, inherited caution that doesn't require conscious thought. When a leopard catches your scent in the dark, something ancient fires in its nervous system that says, don't. It doesn't know why. It doesn't need to know why. The alarm just goes off. Now let's talk about smell, because this one is underrated. You've probably never thought much about how you smell, because you're surrounded by humans all the time and your brain just filters it out. But to a predator with a nose anywhere from 10 to 100,000 times more sensitive than yours, you are broadcasting something enormous and deeply wrong. Bears have a sense of smell roughly 7 times stronger than a bloodhound. Wolves can pick up a scent from nearly 2 miles away under the right conditions. Big cats have a specialized organ in the roof of their mouths that lets them essentially taste the air, pulling in chemical information at a level we can barely imagine. And when one of these animals encounters a sleeping human in a tent, what they're getting is a flood of data. Hat doesn't match anything in their hunting template. You smell like synthetic fabrics. You smell like the meal you ate hours ago. You smell like soap and sunscreen and whatever industrial chemicals went into manufacturing the sleeping bag you're lying in. Underneath all of that, you smell like a primate, which is something, but it's not the right thing. A wolf's predatory instinct isn't a generic desire to attack moving objects. It's a finely calibrated system tuned over millions of years to specific prey. You don't fit the pattern. You're not in the system. You're an anomaly. And anomalies don't trigger the hunting response. They trigger caution. They trigger the very old mammalian instruction that says, if you don't know what this is, stay back. Then there's fire, and fire is its own entire story. Humans discovered it somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, and sleeping next to a campfire has been standard practice for almost all of that time. And here's the part most people miss. We weren't just doing it for warmth. Fire produces a near universal fear response in land animals. Innate, ancient. Animals that were afraid of wildfire survived it by running. Animals that weren't afraid burned. That selection pressure ran for millions of years before humans were even a factor, which means the fear of fire is embedded so deep in animal neurology that laboratory-raised animals who have never encountered fire in their lives will show avoidance behavior at the smell of smoke. A campfire next to a sleeping human isn't just keeping you warm. It's broadcasting a signal into the dark that something dangerous is here, something that controls fire. And predators have been getting that signal for so long that they don't even need to decode it anymore. It just triggers avoidance automatically. Here's something that that almost never comes up in these conversations. Your sleep isn't as complete as you think. It doesn't feel that way, but biologically, human sleep runs in cycles. You drop into deep, slow-wave sleep, and then you come back up into lighter stages, where your brain is surprisingly active and still filtering sensory input from the environment. During those lighter phases, unfamiliar sounds are more likely to break through into awareness than familiar ones. A twig snapping close by, a large animal moving through brush nearby, a change in air pressure and smell that comes with something big approaching. These things can pull you toward waking faster than you'd expect. And this isn't an accident. The humans in our evolutionary past who slept too deeply, who were completely unresponsive to night threats, were more likely to not wake up. Over hundreds of thousands of years, human sleep got tuned towards staying alert enough to respond when something changed in the dark. And you almost never sleep alone. Predators across the animal kingdom understand group dynamics at an instinctive level because their prey animals also form groups. They don't just attack prey. They hunt for separation. They look for the one that's fallen behind, the one that's been cut off, the one at the edge of the herd. A camp full of sleeping humans is a group, and not just any group. A group where one member waking up and making noise will likely wake several others, who will likely make more noise, who will respond in chaotic and unpredictable ways. That collective response is exactly what predators are evolved to avoid. The risk of a hunt collapsing into a group defense situation with multiple large, unpredictable animals all reacting at once is the kind of cost-benefit calculation that steers healthy predators away before they ever get close. Now, here's where the risk-reward math really matters. Predators are not reckless. This is the thing that movies get consistently, embarrassingly wrong. The apex predator as a fearless killing machine that attacks anything within range is fiction. In reality, large predators are extraordinarily careful about what they engage with because they have absolutely no margin for error. One serious wound, a broken leg from a kick, a deep gash from a horn, and a predator that was thriving can starve to death over the following weeks because it can no longer hunt effectively. Every decision to engage with something is a survival calculation. Is this prey familiar enough that I know how it will behave? Is the caloric reward worth the physical risk? A sleeping human fails this calculation in several ways at once. Humans are wildly unpredictable. We might wake up screaming, we might have tools nearby, we might have other humans nearby who respond. We might thrash in ways that a predator has no evolutionary template for anticipating. A healthy predator in a functional ecosystem has access to prey it knows well, prey it's comfortable hunting, prey that fits its biological programming exactly. Going after something strange and unknown and potentially dangerous when there's a perfectly good impala or rabbit available nearby makes no sense. The risk-reward math doesn't work out, and predators are very good at math in their way. They've been doing it their whole lives. The attacks that do happen follow a pattern, and it's worth being honest about what that pattern is, because pretending this never goes wrong would be irresponsible. Almost every documented case of a large predator attacking a sleeping or resting human involves something that broke the normal rules. An injured predator that can no longer hunt its natural prey. A starving animal pushed out of its habitat with its usual food sources gone. A predator that's had so much contact with humans that it's lost its inherited wariness, which happens fast when animals are fed by tourists or start associating human presence with food rather than danger. The Lions of Tsavo in 1898, which attacked and killed somewhere between 35 and 135 railway workers over 9 months depending on which historical records you trust, were later found to be atypical. The Champawat tiger, responsible for an estimated 436 deaths in India and Nepal in the early 1900s, had been shot in the mouth at some earlier point and lost 2 canine teeth. It couldn't hunt deer anymore. It hunted what it could manage. The exceptions almost always trace back to a predator that was desperate, broken, or had lost the instinctive caution its species normally carries. Which means the rule holds almost everywhere when the conditions are intact. A healthy ecosystem, a healthy predator, a human who hasn't done something to scramble the signals, left food out, approached wildlife, eliminated the campfire because it seemed unnecessary. Under those conditions, the inherited caution kicks in. The risk-reward math fails. The ancient alarm fires somewhere in the predator's nervous system, and it moves on. The sleeping human wakes up in the morning having had no idea any of this was even happening. Here's something that really stops me when I think about the full scope of it. The fear that large predators have of humans has gotten so deep and so widespread that it's actually reshaping ecosystems in ways researchers are still mapping out. That same 2019 UC Santa Cruz study found that when mountain lions avoid areas with human activity, the deer in those zones face reduced predation pressure. Deer populations rise, they overgraze vegetation. Meanwhile, medium-sized predators, coyotes, bobcats, foxes, also pull back from human-adjacent areas, which means the rodent populations they normally control start expanding. And it shifts because of us. Because the fear we've generated over hundreds of thousands of years radiates outward through the food web like a signal nobody consciously sent. We change the behavior of every predator layer in an ecosystem without ever directly interacting with most of those animals, just by being there, just by being the thing that evolution told them to be careful around. So the next time you're lying in a tent somewhere and you hear something moving in the dark beyond the nylon wall, and you feel that small pulse of old anxiety that you can't quite reason away, that feeling is real, and it kept your ancestors alive, and it's appropriate. But the thing out there picking up your scent, running its old inherited calculation about whether to engage, hearing the ancient alarm go off somewhere deep in its nervous system, is almost certainly turning around and walking away into the dark. Not because you're safe, because you're you. Because your species spent 2 million years making sure this particular math never worked out in the predator's favor, and that lesson stuck. You might feel helpless in the dark, but to the wild, you are the danger. If you want more deep dives like this, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe and stay curious.